Well, welcome to the Jesus is Better podcast. I have my favorite podcast mate and my favorite mate in life. Mate's a weird word, but I like it. So it's a fun word. Yeah. So this is Melissa Futrell. She is my bride, and man, I think she's amazing. So believe it or not, we'll go ahead. Normally I don't say dates of when we're doing this, but yesterday we celebrated on July 1st our 26-year wedding anniversary. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Love this lady. So I told her this morning, happy anniversary, happy 26 and a day. So it's going to be amazing. But we did go out to dinner last night, which we don't always get to do that on our anniversary date. There's been a lot of times that we've been at Infuge with our students and things. For the last couple of years, we've actually been able to be together on our anniversary. It's been delightful. Not with 120 of our favorite friends and stuff. So not that we don't love you guys. It's great. It's so much fun. But yeah. And they've done a great job at making us feel special and all that. So, but we went out to dinner last night and we asked each other a question. I said to Melissa, if you could go back and like give some advice to you can only give one thing, not telling the future or anything like that, and tell, 21-year-old Melissa at the time, right? Like, hey, I'm not 21-year-old Melissa, and I'm telling you
I'm 47.
something. Okay, there you go. Well, I guess we could do math. 26%. There you go. There. Sorry.
Been married and how old I was when we got married.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I did marry an older woman, so super fun smoking. Anyway, so
all right.
Do you remember what the advice was? What did you say?
I don't.
You don't remember?
That was last night. Because after the question, I gave one answer, and then in my head, I was thinking of the other 6 things that I could have said.
Well, you do remember. What were one of those 6 things? You don't remember any of them? Well, ask me, and I remember what I said.
What advice would you give your 19-year-old self?
Yeah. What I told you was to not take to get help. That sounds terrible. That sounds awful. But how badly we need help. And I, being a guy, and then also being a high extrovert, and then also at times I feel like I can do all these things on my own. And sometimes when you were asking me questions about my schedule and my day, even this morning on the way here, we're on the phone, she was in a different car, and she asked me a question, and I responded with this, "Are you interrogating me about my afternoon today?" Type thing. And it's just, I wish I could go back and look at 19-year-old Derek and say, she's here to help you. And so the question she's going to ask, don't take as if she is judging every moment of that. And not that was just, that's my issue, not yours. Does that make sense? You're genuinely trying to help me. There are times that you ask questions or do things, and my response is, I got it, as opposed to, you're my helpmate, you're my Edgar Kennedzo that Genesis says and stuff. So I would want to go back and tell 19-year-old Derek, don't take 15 years to take the help. And you've been very patient with me. So yeah, you don't remember what you said?
Do you?
Sort of, yeah.
See, it obviously was not very meaningful.
No, it was. I was thinking about the 3 things. We don't have time for that because we want to get into what the topic was today. But you mentioned your words.
Yeah, I think it was to measure my words more carefully. I'm a quick responder, especially when I was younger. And I think part of... I just... something comes into my head and I say it without any thought of how it may hurt, how it may help, how it may do damage to the person that I'm saying it to or about. And I wish I would have known at 21 what I know now. Hindsight's 20/20, right?
Yeah.
But I wish I could tell 21-year-old Melissa to hold her tongue a little bit more often.
Gotcha. So thanks. Thanks for going out to eat with me last night. Yeah. Thanks for going to get some good dessert and being with me. It was a beautiful thing. Loved it. So, but we're here and we want to review. So the last time we talked about our 10 commandments of marriage, and we just shared the first 5. We're going to review those very quickly in case you just listened to this, but I would highly encourage you to go back and listen to that. It was a lot of fun. And we spent a lot of time on number 5. I think almost half the time, maybe on number 5 last time, but I thought it was well worth it. So number 1 was remember that marriage is God's plan, not yours. Right. So marriage is a picture of salvation. Number 2, Melissa.
Marriage is a covenant, not a contract.
Yeah. So God sees everything. There are no secrets with God, and there should be no secrets in marriage. We talked about that. Number 3 was communicate as often as you eat or drink. So it's something I had to learn well. Saying I love you every day, dialogue daily, date weekly, depart quarterly. Number 4.
Kiss each other goodbye.
That's my favorite thing. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't kiss you goodbye because I knew I was going to see you. So did I kiss you when I left? I did not, did I?
I don't know, but we're here now, so let's continue.
Right. And then number 5, pray, play, and laugh together, and sometimes all at the same time. So here we go. Number 6. Number 6 is flirt often and with variety. And what we mean by that is to passionately pursue one another. And so how have I passionately pursued you that you needed?
Well, I think the whole flirting often, I think we have been diligent about learning one another's love languages.
Right.
And I think that when you learn each other's love languages, you're able to flirt in the way the person
Needs you to flirt.
Or desires you to flirt.
Right. I think sometimes we hear the word flirt, we think, and it's probably like flirt often. That's maybe we should come up with a better word. Flirt is like I have intention to want to make you laugh, be with you, love on you, all those things. And I think sometimes that word is used as like, type stuff.
Right.
But what we mean is to passionately pursue one another. And it really came
It really is about pursuit.
John Eldridge in his book, Wild at Heart, talks about how men are built to pursue and women are built to be pursued, to be chased. And sometimes after you get married, like it makes dating people, that's the whole point of dating, right? And even in being engaged. But it's almost like sometimes folks get married and they stop pursuing each other. And man, there's just great joy in still pursuing one another. And you're like, well, what's the point? We already got it. We've already accomplished the goal. No, the goal is to love one another deeply. The goal is to sacrifice and serve one another. And so,
well, the goal is to have an abundant marriage, not just be married.
Right. Exactly.
That if the goal is just to have a wedding day and be married, you've missed the point.
Right. Marriage is not the finish line. It's the starting line.
Yeah.
The wedding day, I should say, is not the finish line. It's the starting line. It's closing one chapter, beginning another. But the pursuit, I think, changes. And part of that is learning each other's love language.
Sure.
So for those of you who don't know, Gary Chapman wrote a book years ago called The 5 Love Languages. And they're very helpful. Learning how to be loved and also learning how to love in the way that communicates to one another. That's why he calls it a love language. So one is quality time, which is my wife's. The other is, it's not the worst one. It's not the worst one.
It's a difficult one.
It is when it comes to quantity time, but I think quality time can happen at any moment. I think that's been one of the things that you and I've learned together. But the second, we'll talk about that in a minute, is what?
Physical touch.
Yeah, that's mine. Yep, love it.
And then acts of service.
Yep, that's the third one. And then gifts is the fourth. And then words of affirmation is the fifth. And so I think people have a combination of love languages. And honestly, who doesn't love and appreciate all 5? Well, there are a couple people I know who don't like physical touch at all. But that's okay. They're learning and stuff. So, but
and
learning.
People change over time as well.
They do. But I think with those is in flirting often and passionately pursuing one another is making it an intention of the day to pursue the heart of my wife, to making it an intention of the day when she is obviously being affectionate and intentional towards me. Those have meant a lot.
Well, and I think in our marriage, especially in the beginning, neither of us understood those things very well.
Right.
And physical touch is not high on my list, especially in the beginning. And so I didn't think you needed a touch on the shoulder or a hand on your arm or reaching out to hold your hand, things like that. And when I would do things like that, you just
lit up like a firecracker.
Yes.
Like I just did. My heart just did a backflip.
Yes.
If you're listening, she just touched my shoulder and I thought, man, let's go.
So, I mean, those are the things when we say flirt often, that's not something that I necessarily need. And it's not something that comes to mind at first. Now it does, but it's not something that would immediately come to mind. But the more that I did it, I recognized that it spoke to your heart and it communicated to you, I love you. It communicated to you that we're in this together. It communicated to you if things are going to be okay, especially when you're struggling with something. And just a hand on your arm was enough for me to communicate those things to you and you to react in a good way to those things. And in the same way, I mean, you can use, if your spouse's love language are gifts, then getting something, it doesn't have to be extravagant gifts, but bringing flowers home or getting a small gift to set by his bedside table. Those are things that communicate, easy things and easy ways to communicate, I love you.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about you.
Yeah. And that's what we mean by the flirting is that pursuit of one another. And when you know each other's love language, I think learning to give what the other person craves, that's important. But also learning to receive what the other person gives, that's pretty important too.
Yes.
And I think we have to learn how to receive as well. And we didn't do that well at the beginning because I was constantly giving you what I wanted and you were giving me what you wanted.
Right.
And I wasn't understanding why you weren't receiving the love that I wanted to give you, and vice versa. But I learned that you needed some good quality time and you needed a walk and you needed uninterrupted time, I think is what I learned about from you was what you meant by quality time was time that was non-distracted. It didn't have to be an entire day, but it did need to be longer for you to be able to complete a thought,
Right.
longer for us to have a completed conversation.
Well, I think too, just the intentionality of you calling me when you're in transition times, when you're on your way to a meeting or you're on your way to work, or different things like that, that ordinarily you wouldn't consider to be quality time,
right.
But
for you it is.
But for me it is because you are considering, I haven't talked to Melissa in a couple hours. I had a really good meeting or I'm really struggling with something. I'm going to call and let her know my thoughts. And I don't look at it as a hindrance. I don't look at it as an annoyance that my phone is ringing and it's you on the other line. I look at it as he wants to share something with me. And it's an encouragement to me.
Yeah, that's my way of pursuing your heart.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think the whole pursuit of one another, I mean, doesn't that, again, go back to Genesis 3 of where we naturally fall, how the curse has come upon men and women, that women think they don't want to be pursued and men don't take the
Right.
time and the effort to actually do the pursuing. I mean, it all goes back to the curse.
Yeah, and I think there might be somebody listening to this that goes, well, he doesn't know what I want. He doesn't know how to pursue me. Well, I want to tell you, tell him.
Yeah.
tell him. You're like, I have done that. Have you told him in an angry way or have you told him in a subtle way? And you're like, I've done both. Then pray for him in that regard or pray with him in that regard. I know there's been times that I've felt that way about you. You felt that way about me. And I'm like, I wish you would pursue me in this way. And I might have even said something, or you might have said something, and it wasn't received immediately with, thank you so much for telling me this. But understanding this is what she desires. And at first, for me, with the quality time thing, I fought that because I was like, I can't do that. And then I realized, no, I can, and here's what it might look like. So flirt often and with variety, passionately pursue one another. Here's number 7, edify privately. And
we need to quantify edify.
Yeah, we will. And encourage publicly and privately. So what we mean by edify is, well, what do you mean? You said you want to quantify it. So what do you mean by edify?
Well, edification certainly can mean upbuilding and building someone up in words and in they're doing things well. But I think edification can also mean, hey, I see this and this might not be a good idea to interact in this way. Or you said something earlier that hurt me. Or you said something earlier that could have been misconstrued. And I'm doing that privately with you. I'm not bringing that about in a public forum or in front of other people to critique or to give constructive criticism.
Yeah.
I'm doing that in the privacy of our relationship, just the two of us. because it is important. I think for both, I think men have struggle with their ego at times. And I think when a woman corrects them in public, it
shuts them down.
It shuts them down, and it shuts them down in more ways than just that particular conversation. It builds resentment.
Yeah, guys struggle sometimes to even talk. And then when he does talk, if his wife corrects him publicly or chastises him publicly, that is going to completely shut him down. And some people might be listening to this and goes, well, he needs to suck it up, buttercup. He'll be fine. You need to learn some tact. I mean, can I say that in a loving way? You need to learn that, a man is different than a woman. Mm-hmm. And I'll say the same thing for men to women. I've seen plenty of men who start correcting their wives and will belittle them in public as well. And
which is never appropriate.
Yeah. And I would tell you, man, like that, you need to learn some tact, dude. You need to learn how to love her well and shepherd her well and shelter her well, really, is what I was trying to say. And so it's one thing to encourage each other, and I think we should encourage each other privately, but we should also encourage each other publicly. For me, one of the things that I love is to hear you talk about me in front of other people. And that's not a boastful and arrogant thing. It makes me think my wife loves me. She is proud of me.
Right.
And vice versa. And I know you're a nurse and have worked in hospital settings where the time around the nurse's table, the water cooler, can get kind of rough. And
it gets a little squirrely. And I think that's probably happens in a lot of secular
don't just happen in
businesses.
The secular environment.
Well, not just in the secular environment too, but in pretty much any environment where there are people, I think it can happen. But certainly, I mean, that was something I saw a lot of as a nurse. They were brutal with talking about their husbands and talking very poorly about them. And a good many of them are no longer married or married to someone else now.
Right.
And so I think, I mean, it does seeps into all of the areas. When you talk poorly about someone, it eventually you breathe it in and it becomes the narrative. It becomes what you believe about that person, even if it's not true, or even if it was only one incident that you had a conflict with them, it becomes what you think of that person. Right. It becomes part of their personality.
Yeah. So again, with number 7, edify privately and encourage publicly and privately, I think applies to also if there is conflict in marriage, who you talk to about it. You know, if there is an issue that comes up, I think sometimes we are very quick to say, well, I'm going to go vent to my friend. And then when I vent to my friend, then I don't want my husband or I don't want my wife to catch the brunt of it. So I'm going to share that with them. And then I'm going to come and work it out with them. Yeah. And I would say that's actually not what you should do, because Jesus made it very clear in Matthew chapter 18 that you're to go to the person that has offended you and talk to them about it first. And then if you can't work it out, then you go to a trusted brother or sister and take it to them. Now, if you want to go to someone for a little bit of wisdom, great, but I don't think you need to do that every time. I'll just be honest with you.
No.
You got enough wisdom, all right? Just go work it out. Go talk to him. You're like, but you don't understand. I do understand.
I mean, oftentimes you need to get alone with the Word and let the Word minister to you and speak to you. And
the Holy Spirit is a great comforter and a great counselor.
Absolutely. And as women, we do often want to vent to our friends about our frustrations. And the problem with doing that is that when the resolution happens with your spouse,
those friends ain't present.
The friends are not present, and they don't hear the resolution. They don't hear the apologies on both sides. They don't hear, hopefully, the humility that you now have to say, yeah, I was wrong about that too. All they've heard is the conflict and the tension and the angst against your spouse. And so now that has built resentment in them for 100%. That person. And now not only are they not holding your marriage in honor, but you're not holding your marriage in honor.
Yeah, I think that's really important. In Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4, it says marriage is to be held in honor among all. And all means all. It starts here.
Right.
And it also starts with the people that you include into your small circles.
Right.
And so your mom told you something early on about this, and I thought that was pretty powerful.
Yeah, just that she told me early on, like, you and Derek are going to you guys are going to argue. You guys are going to have conflict. And I'm happy to, of course, I'm always here for you. Of course, I'm always ready to listen and give counsel. But understand that the more that you tell me and don't tell me the resolution for things, it can very easily build resentment in me towards Derek. And we recognize that you both are sinners.
Come on.
And it's never one-sided.
No.
And so I think that's where we get into a little bit of trouble, is that we present our side to our friends or our comrades, and they believe only the negative about the other person and not anything negative about you. And in the times that we have done marriage counseling, in the 20 plus years, 24 plus years of ministry, there has never been a marriage that we have helped counsel that the
Only
problems
one was wrong.
Right. The problems are only one-sided or one person.
Right.
It is always, always, always two-sided. There are always two sides to every story, and there are always there are always times, those people, that both are wrong.
Right. 100%.
There's never a time when only one is wrong.
Right. But if you've just gone to a friend and vented, or a group of friends and vented, and gotten there kind of, I find a lot of times when that happens, you're not actually looking for any pushback. You might say you are, but you're really not. You're really venting. You're really just adding fuel and adding oxygen to a fire that you've already started.
Well, yeah. And I think there's a
sense?
difference to going to someone and saying, this is what I'm frustrated about. Can you please help me calm my frustration? Can you help me figure out a solution for this?
Right.
And can you point out if there's an area of this that I'm wrong?
Correct. Right.
And
that's where I think that needs to start first.
Certainly.
Not that there's not wrong from the other person at all. And not that sometimes you don't need help. I'm not saying that people don't need help.
No.
But I think if you've gone to try to work it out with that person and it hasn't worked, then you go to one, not 5, not 8, 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One trusted sister if you're a girl, one trusted brother if you're a guy, and work it out in prayer and love, and then lovingly go back.
Right. Well, and I don't think you go to a trusted brother or sister until you have come to a point of recognition that there are some things in your life that are wrong too.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a hard thing. Sometimes we need that other perspective. The spouse is easily seeing what's wrong, or not, but sometimes we have a hard time seeing it in ourselves. And I think that's when we go to other people to go, okay, can you help me see where I might be in error here? Golly, I think about that so many times with different things in life and work, and I'll come home and talk to Melissa and be like, hey, can you just listen to me for a minute? And I'll talk to her, and she'll go, did you consider this? And are you meaning to take it this way? And I'm like, oh man, I didn't even see it that way. Now that might not be how I respond originally in that moment. But after I think about it, pray about it, I go, I think I actually am seeing this in a certain light. Maybe I need to look at it from a different perspective. And it does help me love that person better. That's something you help me with. And again, I think that's just the whole idea of edification happening privately. So many times that we're just so quick to grab a posse, to grab a people. And I know in small groups in church, we encourage very much so vulnerability and transparency, but not bandwagoning. Does that make sense? And that's a fine line. You can say, hey, would you pray for us? We're walking through something. That's great. Even to be specific, we're walking something with our child or walking through something together. But then to go from that and to take 2 or 3 people and to just constantly quip,
Right.
To gather, and defame your spouse.
Right.
And then for that to be passed on is destructive
Yeah.
to your relationship. It's destructive to the group, and ultimately can be destructive to a church. And so I would highly, highly recommend you not do that. And if you have, repent from it and go to those people and say, I am sinful and sorry. And would you forgive me? Because you don't realize the damage that you sow, both in your relationship and then also in the greater part.
And I think this is important for us to realize that it's okay to disagree in front of your children. There's so many times that we have done counseling with couples and they have said, well, we never saw our parents argue. And so our parents never argued, or we only saw them argue. They always bickered,
right,
and they never saw resolution. And so I think if you're going to have a disagreement, obviously there are some disagreements you should not have in front of your children. But if you're going to have a disagreement of something, I don't want to say minor but something trivial, then make sure you have communicated to your kids, especially if they're of a certain age, that you have also resolved it.
Right.
I mean, there's been many times where you and I have had disagreements about something, and then I have said, when I am with the girls or even with the boys, yes, I was wrong about that. I apologized, or Dad apologized. I apologized. We are good now. And it doesn't mean they have to come into every piece of the conversation, but they do need to know that there were apologies on both sides. There were things that were resolved, that they are not constantly thinking, well, they're just in constant turmoil. They're in constant conflict and tension with one another.
Yeah, no, it's a huge thing. And it teaches them resolution, And as you hear us talk about this, it doesn't mean that you can never have a disagreement publicly, or, you've messed up a lot if other people heard it or something along those lines. It's just that as you work through it, the people who are important in your life, go back to them and say, hey, or tell them, we are for each other. We're not against each other. This is just a minor issue. We're going to work this out.
Right.
And then your kids need to see you apologize. I don't think you should have every fight in front of your children.
No,
and Melissa
not.
knows me well enough to know believe it or not, I'm an extremely private person. A lot of people don't think that I am, because I'm very open and willing to talk about things. But if there's something that I'm trying to work out, I don't want to talk about it with a group of people. I want to talk about it with one person, me and the Lord, or me and that person. And so I feel very betrayed if that is talked about with someone that I didn't, and so
that you didn't choose to bring into the conversation.
Right. And I don't think it's a pride issue. If it is, I mean, you can tell me if it is. But I think it's a matter of wanting to bring honor in every situation, wanting to bring honor to the people that we might be discussing or talking about, wanting to bring honor to, like, if it's a disagreement with your family or my family, and it's around our kids, I've always wanted to try to do that in public or in private with you, not in front of our children. If there's times that we have to do that, we're very much to say, Daddy loves Nana and Papa, Mommy loves Mima and Granddaddy, but we're trying to work through this. Doesn't happen much now, but happened a little bit more often when we were younger.
Very
children were
infrequent
younger
now.
And that type of thing. So, okay, I know that's a big one, and you're like, man, you guys covered a lot there, but edify privately and encourage publicly and privately. And the reason both for the encouraging is, if I only encourage her in public, but I never encourage her in private, she's not going to think I'm genuine at all.
Yeah.
But if I'm only encouraging in public, but I'm never only encouraging her privately, but never encouraging her publicly, she's going to question the validity of that too.
Yeah.
She's like, you're just trying to, get something from me. And so I think this idea of public praise is important. Of what we love one another, without being voyeuristic, of, oh, my wife's the hottest. I'm like, oh, whatever, dude. Hopefully you think that. I think that about my wife. Can we just chill for a minute? And so, anything to add to that before we move on? All right, number 8, selflessly serve together. And we wrote, the couple that serves together stays together. Now, you have a lot of thoughts about this. So when
About
it comes
serving?
to service, yes, yeah.
I mean, isn't there a stat that says teenagers, when they serve, they're more likely to stay involved in their local church?
Yeah, right.
I mean, I think that's true of pretty much anyone. If you are serving in some capacity, then you are thinking of someone other than yourself, and it forces communication, it forces engagement, and serving together has always been of benefit to us, and never a detriment. There are times that we have gotten very busy with serving and we have had to step back, but it has never been a detriment to us. We have had to measure it and make sure that we are doing appropriately with those areas. But yeah, I think serving together is key. It gives you a different appreciation for your spouse when you serve together.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. And seeing them in light of that, like I love watching you serve at Fuge. Like it's one of my favorite things, honestly. Reason I go to Fuge every year. Yes, I want to hang out with a bunch of our students and adults. We got like 100 plus folks that go. So it's like, man, this is a great time for me to just have conversation and breakfast and lunch and dinner and all the transitions that take place and ministry and whatnot. But I love watching you serve. And I love coming alongside you. It's just one of those spaces where you got your medic bag and you're just, man, people just are constantly pulling on you, but you love it, and it's your opportunity to give back and to serve. And it's not the only time of the year that you do service like that, but it is a joy to watch you do that and to be there together. There's a sense of even though we're not spending any time together, but we're serving together,
right.
Going on a mission project together. Like I love doing mission with you, because I'm getting to serve Jesus and you at the same time. Now, I know some people listen to this. We can't do that. We can't leave our kids. You can find some way to serve, and even if you can't do it together at the same time, you can trade times to do that.
Well, and I think that goes to mission projects too, short-term mission projects. I mean, there was a season of our life where we did not get to serve on short-term mission projects together. It was either you going or me going,
right.
Usually you going.
Right. Yep.
But we had young kids, and we do have an incredible support system with both sets of our parents. But there were just times that you needed to go or I could go, but we both couldn't go. It was too much of a stress on our families.
Yeah.
And we are now in a season of life where that looks different. We are able to go on short-term mission projects together, which is so much fun and so encouraging to be able to do. But even when our kids were young, we still served in different capacities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you served in the choir. I was the one directing the choir at the time, so we were together. But I think about when our kids were that small, you did a great job of getting them into sleep patterns and sleep rhythms and sleep times, bedtimes, whatnot. And on Wednesday nights, that was interrupted, very much so interrupted. And
because we had choir practice.
Yeah, because choir practice was later and their bedtime was typically a little earlier. And so rather than you just not participating in that during that time, we decided as a family, we're just going to interrupt their schedule. And it took a while, but the kids finally got the routine. They understood, it's a Wednesday night, I'm going to stay up later, and that type of thing. And, we just kind of rode out that 2-month transition of all of that. But I think, man, what would life have been like without all of those relationships for you?
Oh, yeah, very
without
lonely.
all that encouragement, and stuff that came from serving in a way. And so that's what we mean by the couple that serves together, stays together, is that we weren't always necessarily serving in the same way at the same time, but we were serving in some way, shape, or form. And not just the church, but even outside the church. Think about sports and sports teams and whatnot. There are lots of folks who are involved in that, and I think it's great. I do want to caution you in that being your only avenue of service in your community. We've been involved in basketball, and basketball season's long. We would go from October to maybe the beginning of April, end of March, and it made it tough for date nights and all those other things, just because we had something 5-6 nights a week, and you throw church stuff in there too, and just like, wow, here we go.
Right.
But we still try to carve out that time for one another, but understanding that we were cheering for each other in the fact that you were serving in this way and serving in this way. So, yeah. And also, I think serving one another, if I can add that in this, that's an important to think about. In 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 1, it says that we're servants of Christ and stewards of the various mysteries of God. Mm-hmm. And I am a servant of you, and you're a servant of me. I'm a steward of you, and you're a steward of me. And I think that bleeds over into number 9. So number 9, I'm gonna make you say it.
Have sex often.
That's right. Yeah. Not make you, ask you to say it. So yeah, there you go. But have sex often. And I know you're like, are you allowed to say that on a podcast? Yes. It's not rated R, rated X, or anything like that. We're not going to get that graphic. But I think it's important to understand. And if I could kind of boil all of this down for the conversation about sex and sexual intimacy, is sex is not a reward to be earned. Sex is a gift to be given freely and given often.
Yeah.
And so talk about that for a moment.
Well, I think it has to start with communication.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think as I think in the church, oftentimes we have this misconception that we can't talk about it, that it's taboo,
and that's a result of the culture.
That it's okay in marriage, but let's not talk about it.
Right.
And
I think that goes back to, if I can interrupt for a second, I'm sorry. But it's how people, I just had this conversation with doing premarital counseling earlier this week, is, we were talking about sexual intimacy, and you could tell it was very difficult for both of them. And it's because the cultural mindset of sex has crept into the church. People see sex as doing the dirty, doing the nasty, and it's not dirty. It's not nasty. It was made by God, and it's good.
Yeah.
It's an act of worship to him, not one another, but it's both of you together. Like if you changed your definition of sex to be, this is a way we serve God by serving one another in honor of glory of him, like I'd like that to be the definition of sex for our culture. And some people are like, oh, that's not romantic at all. Are you kidding me? That's the most romantic. That's how he made you. He made you in Genesis chapter 2 at the end, when he brought the man to the brought the woman to the man. He said, oh, at last, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, she shall be called woman. Therefore, the man and wife were united. And they were united in flesh. And then it says they were naked and they felt no shame. What do you think you're talking about there? They're talking about the fact they were intimate and they were together. And there's no like, ooh, now God turns his eyes. No, he's fully present in that, just like he's fully present in worship. And that bakes people's noodles too much, but I don't think it should. Mm-mm. If you change your understanding of what sex is and who it is, then it won't be a reward for you to feel like you have to earn, but it will be a gift that you freely give one another. And I think that took a while, though, for you and me. Like I didn't think about sex as worship for the first probably 10 years of marriage, and stuff.
No.
And so go back to what you were saying earlier with that. But I think having that mindset, you talked about like, the prohibitiveness in culture or in church is don't do it because it's bad. Don't do it because it's bad. And then
or don't talk
married.
about it.
Right.
And then it becomes a thing of we can't talk about it
together.
As right. You can't talk about it as a group of women, or you can't talk about it as a group of men. And then it bleeds over into you can't talk about it with your spouse, which is terrible because you have to have communication about that.
100%.
That is something that is vital.
Right.
To have good intimacy with one another is to be able to have good communication about it.
Right.
And sometimes it is uncomfortable, but it's also extremely necessary.
Yeah.
And the only other thing that I would add about this one is that sex is not a weapon. It is not a negotiating tool. It is not something that should ever be used as, especially for, and I can't say, I guess, especially for women, I think that can go either way. Mm-hmm. But for one spouse to say, well, I am only going to have sex with you if you do this, or if you don't do this.
Right.
Or to withhold it because it feels like you're trying to one-up them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's never a healthy way to communicate about sex, and it's never a healthy way to manage it.
That's a good word. That's a really good word. The Hebrews 13 is a fantastic chapter if you get a chance to read it on just practical things. But the two things that couples argue or disagree about the most is sex and money. For this conversation, we'll limit it to sex. But the reason is that each is content with different amounts, and each has a different idea for what the purpose of it's for. And so understanding that marriage is not meant to, you both have to get to the same number. 3 times per week, 8 times per week, 6 times per week, 2 times per week, 37 times. I don't do that. That's not healthy. And so I think the answer is not, you need to have the same number I do, I need to have the same number you do, is we need to communicate what our desires are. Mm-hmm. We need to communicate what our desire, not just to receive, but our desire to give. Right. Because I think one of the things too about sex is, and I've read this a few different times in a few different spaces, is a man feels more connected to his wife during and afterwards, where a wife feels more connected before, wants to feel more emotionally before, something like that. Not that she doesn't during as well, but it's kind of like the preview to the act, and then the act to the post is different for each one. And so what do? Well, don't withhold either from one another.
No.
Is you selflessly serve one another in that. And so,
And there may be times that one spouse desires it more than the other.
yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean the one spouse that doesn't desire it as much should just say, well, because I don't desire it as much, I guess you're out of luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't work that way. Again, that goes back to serving. It goes back to trying to love one another well. Sorry, that's our 10:02 alarm.
Yeah, man. One thing about sexual intimacy is to, and we'll pray at the end, I think sometimes we think it has to be the marathon session, or it has to be the buffet, you know what I mean? Or the big meal, so to speak.
Sometimes a sandwich is okay.
But sometimes a sandwich is good. Sometimes a quick peanut butter and jelly and you keep rolling is all right.
That's right.
And don't insult the person by not feeding them a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or neglect their need, I guess I should say. Just like, and Paul talks about this, that need is not a need. It is a need. 1 Corinthians 7 makes it very clear that it is a need both for a man and a woman who are married together. But then if you have 3 hours, to spend time together and to, do all the things that you want to do with that, and we can have a no kids should ever listen to this one episode at some point, but that you should take the time and enjoy the buffet, enjoy the feast, so to speak, aspect of that. And I think that's, don't demand a feast if all you can have is a sandwich. And so that type of thing, I think you get it. So here's the last one. Number 10, read the word and pursue Christ. Seek to please Jesus and not each other. So, yeah.
I mean, I feel like this one kind of wraps it all up, and
does,
it's
yeah.
self-explanatory.
Some people are like, this should be number 1. I know. Yes, it's not. These are not order of importance. They're just 10 principles that we've all learned. So
if you're not reading the word, you're not pursuing Christ. If you're not reading the word and pursuing Christ, then the things in your life will eventually begin to crumble.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And one thing I want to say is this. I learned this from a guy named Tom Elliff, a sweet friend of mine, was the president of the International Mission Board for a long time as well, pastor, missionary. But he said, until a person knows Christ, him and his wife wrote this, him and Jeannie Elliff, his first wife after she passed. He's married a lady named Diana now. But until a person knows Christ, the individual is dead in spirit and has no capacity to give or receive the pure and enduring love which comes only from the heart of God. And so, man, that might be insulting to somebody who's listening, who's not a follower of Jesus, but man, I just want you to know, once you begin that robust relationship with the Lord, the best thing you can do in marriage is read the word and pursue Christ individually and together. And if you're not reading the word, you're neglecting the power source for your life and for your marriage. If you're not pursuing Christ actively in prayer, in accountability relationships, you are neglecting the only thing that can empower you with the other 9 things that we've talked about. And so there's nothing greater than you pursuing Jesus. There's nothing greater than you reading the word. I can tell when Melissa hasn't been in the word. And she can tell when I haven't. And the answer is not coming in going, you need to get in the word, but we might have done that earlier in our marriage.
Dear Jesus, please let him read the Bible today.
Yeah. But it is one thing I have valued much about you, especially over the last, 15 years of our life, the last 15 years of marriage, is you share what God is teaching you. And you are very quick to text me or show me something in the Word that's thrilling your soul. You'll say, "Hey, can I talk to you about this thing I'm learning with my ladies' Bible study in Revelation that you just finished up?" And I long to hear those conversations with you, to hear what the Lord's teaching you. And I do want to say that to folks is like, should I have a combined study with my wife or should I do something individually? Yes, whatever is going to help you pursue Jesus best, do it. For Melissa and I, we have a Bible reading plan that we do together, but we don't talk about it all the time. But Melissa's pursuing Jesus and I am. And then we tell each other about what we're learning. We tell each other about how we're growing. Sometimes I'll share with her something that I'm going to preach in a sermon, but sometimes I don't. And it's not that I'm trying to keep it from her. It's what's for her and what's not for her. Does that make sense? So yeah, anything to add to any of this?
No, except for every time you counsel a couple in crisis, that's one of the questions you ask is, when was the last time you prayed together? And when was the last time you read the word together? Yeah. And it's
typically 0 and 0.
Shocking.
Right. Yeah. Especially
I guess it shouldn't be shocking, but
right.
Yeah.
And I know you're like, is it that simple? The answer is yes. Now, does that mean reading and praying is going to take care of all your problems?
No,
but it's going to give you the fuel to be able to take care of your problems.
Yeah.
It's going to give you the power to attack the problems that you have. And so thank you for doing this. We've mentioned quite a few different resources, but just want to encourage you, if you're in the Central Virginia area and you're close, within a 20-minute, 30-minute drive of Parkway, man, we would love for you to be part of the Parkway family, or one of the church plants that we've planted over the last few years. And so God's been so good. And marriage, the best thing you can do is love the Lord with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And you got a pretty good-looking neighbor here. I do. She's got a decent one, but that's all right.
I got a good one too.
Would you pray for us, and then we'll say goodbye.
Father, you are good, and you are good to give us marriage as a relationship here on earth. And so, God, I pray that we would steward it well, that we would encourage others to steward it well. Father, I pray that you would give us clarity, give us wisdom in the issues that arise in our marriages. God, that you would give us kindness and gentleness and long suffering for one another, Lord, that we would be quick to apologize, quick to recognize our own sin and acknowledge that. And God, that we would be quick to humble ourselves before you and before our spouse. Thank you, Father, for the gift of marriage, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about it today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, so thanks again for joining the Jesus is Better podcast. This has been the last 5 of what we call our 10 commandments of marriage. We have written them down, and we keep them in front of us. We look at them often. Most of the time when something's wrong, we're not doing 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 of them. And so I would highly encourage you to come up with your own, take what we've done, make it your own, and write it down and follow it. Everybody needs a good rule to follow in marriage, and these are the ones that we're currently following. So God bless you guys, and we'll see you soon. Jesus is better.